Welcome, everyone. It is such an honor to be invited to be here at the launch of the Blessed Channel. Ronnie and I cannot think of anything rather be doing than being with all of you right now.
That's absolutely true. And a little introduction, Deborah and I have been Art of Living teachers for over 3 decades. And we thought we would share with you how we were introduced to Art of Living and what it's done for us in our lives and the many unexpected side benefits of taking advantage of these programs has brought to both of us.
Yes, but before we do that, I want to brag about you and tell everyone because your background is very, very impressive. You are an award-winning, pioneering, Harvard-trained researcher and a published author in the field of mind-body medicine. And one of the things that I found very exciting is that you were a member of the research team at Harvard that shattered the existing paradigm of inevitable mental decline with aging and showed that lifestyle choices like meditation not only slow, but can actually reverse decline that was thought to be inevitable with age. And it actually increased length of life and it appeared on the cover of Newsweek magazine.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And I remember the first time that I met you more than 50 years ago in 1973 at Washington University in St. Louis, where, as always, you're always ahead of the curve. You were the only certified meditation teacher on the entire campus. And it was before social media. So the only way that we could let people know about the activities of the club was actually to mail them postcards through the U.S. Postal Service. And so after our group meetings, our weekly meditation club meetings, you would bribe us to stay behind and help you fill out those postcards by bringing Chips Ahoy chocolate chip cookies.
Busted. And one of the other things that you will find out as we continue here tonight, Ronnie and I teach a course together, and the course is called Ageless, Anti-Aging for Your Brain, Body, and Future. And we teach people all of the different things, lifestyle changes that you can do to slow, stop, and reverse aging. Of course, meditation is number one. And maybe number two is don't eat Chips Ahoy chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, yeah. And then I have to brag about you a little bit more, Deborah, because just so you know, a little bit more about Deborah, she then went on, when I went off to graduate school at Harvard, she went on to teach meditation full time and taught more than 1,000 people. And then she started the company called Yes to Success that you may have heard of that showed people how to live success, but not only like outer success, the Mercedes or the BMW, but how to have true inner success, which is the foundation for outer success. And that course was attended by tens of thousands of people on, I think, 5 continents. And I know that some of her students went on to become millionaires. She even has a billionaire and a couple of them that are actually household names, which out of modesty and privacy, she won't share.
Yes, I will not, but yeah, these are people that you would all know. And I was actually teaching in the early 70s. I was teaching meditation through another organization at the time. The Art of Living had not been founded yet. I would always say to my students that meditation is the basis to success. I would tell them, and I still do, I still tell people now that trying to build a life of success without that silent yet expanded foundation that meditation provides, it's like trying to build a skyscraper without a foundation. It will just crumble with the first, hurricane or earthquake or bad windstorm if there's no foundation. And the deeper the foundation, the stronger the building can be. And the deeper our meditation practice, the greater our success can be. And that's been shown by research as well. And by the way, and then Ronnie, the reason why I jumped ship from the other meditation that I was teaching and started teaching through Art of Living. First of all, so many of my friends were saying to me, you have to try the Art of Living Sky Breath. You have to try the Art of Living Sky Breath. And then, I mean, and then I was sharing with somebody about how my life is so good and my business is successful and I have this wonderful family. Life is great. But I had chronic, debilitating migraine headaches. And that was it. I remember my friend Kenny said, Sky Breath will get rid of your migraines. I'm like, I don't know about that. I had tried everything, but I said, all right, I'll learn the Sky Breath. This was 1992. My first Sky Breath class, I never had another migraine in my life. So that's just one of the, I mean, we have so many stories of how people change their lives, um, both physically, mentally, emotionally. But how did you get into the art of living?
Great. Deb, just stop for a sec. Am I fuzzy again?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, they can cut that out.
Yeah.
So my story was that, as you know, when I was a graduate student at Harvard, I went to the Middle East doing conflict resolution research. And really, can you imagine a better place to do conflict resolution research? But as a young single woman in the Middle East, I mean, I was part of a team, but I was the only woman scientist, the only woman researcher on the team, and I was the project director. And so I was totally unprepared for the unrelenting animosity and aggression that was directed at me because not everybody, surprisingly, wanted peace and conflict resolution in the Middle East. And actually, among the tribulations that I experienced there, a contract was taken out on my life. And I was 28 at the time. And so when I went several months later, limping back to Harvard, I had the best possible medical care, but it did not touch the problems that I was having. I was sleeping 12 or 14 hours every night. I had a rash over my entire body. I couldn't stop scratching. I timed it once. I couldn't stop scratching for more than a minute. And my energy level was like in the gutter. And so when nothing else could help me, I started turning my research expertise into looking for things that could complement what I was already doing. And a friend of mine convinced me to try the sky breath and gave me the medical reasons why it would help boost my physiology. And I thought, well, it's logical. And so, I was willing to try anything, I would wear a rabbit's foot if it would help, if there was science behind it, not only if there was science behind it. So I started doing the breath work and it turned my life around. The rash that was all over my body, you see, I have, perfectly normal skin. I go to sleep, I wake up refreshed in the morning. I have energy like what is that? The ever ready
Energizer.
bunny. I just keep
Energizer.
going. My Zumba class, I'm like the jumpiest person in my Zumba class, and I absolutely love it. And so I am so grateful for it. It was a blessing.
Yes. Talk about a blessing. It gave you your life back.
Yes. And it did something more too, something very unexpected that I used to always intellectually, I would understand about gratitude and appreciation and all of these various concepts. And I understood, yes, I am grateful. I have A, B, C, D, E. But it was always in my mind, it was an intellectual understanding. It wasn't a visceral experience of gratitude. It was, and it is so rich and so full, and it has pervaded my life ever since. And there are so many qualities that make life so much more worth living that have sprouted since learning the breath work because I was already meditating every day for 17 years before I learned it.
Yeah. Wow. And I that example that you gave of how you had the rash. I knew you back then. She's telling the truth, friends. 12, 14 hours sleeping. It was brutal. And it just made me think of another friend of ours who had a miraculous turnaround from Art of Living, and also her a relationship with the founder, Sri Ravi Shankar, Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar, who is one of the most renowned gurus on the planet. And he's just a blessing in himself. You know, the way he blesses our lives with his absolutely exquisite knowledge and his grace. And it just made me think of the story of how this mutual friend of ours had one day she found a little tumor on her leg. I mean, it was just a bump, it wasn't a tumor. And so she went and had it removed, and it came back. And this time she let it grow a little bit more, and it grew to like maybe the size of a you know a what do you call those golf ball, like a golf ball. And she had it removed, and it grew back again, but this time it grew very quickly, and another one grew as well, and it was two, like a 16-inch softball, the size of a 16-inch softball. Anyway, needless to say, she went to a doctor and to try to get it removed again, but it had grown into her muscles and into her nerves and around her veins and arteries. And she went to many, many doctors because every doctor that she went to said that they should amputate her leg. Now, she was a dancer, not only a dancer, a competitive dancer. Can you imagine this? To lose a leg, and a very vibrant, alive person. And so she had the great good fortune to be able to go and talk to Gurudev, Sri Ravi Shankar, and say, I don't know what to do. They want to amputate my leg. And he said to her, I will send you a doctor. And she said, no, it can't be. I've done my research. I've looked into every doctor probably in the world and who does this kind of surgery, and they all say amputation. And he was like, I'll send you a doctor. It wasn't more than 2 weeks later when she was at our retreat center in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Boone, North Carolina. The Art of Living has a beautiful facility there. She was sitting at lunch, and she struck up a conversation with a woman doctor, and she started telling the doctor about her situation. And the doctor said, oh, I have a friend who's a surgeon, and he specializes in these types of surgery. And our friend said, well, where is he? She thought it was going to be in like Peru or France or Germany. She didn't know. The woman said, oh, he's in Chicago, which is where this woman was from and where she lived. So she went back to Chicago, had a consultation. The gentleman said, yes, in fact, it is a complex surgery. In fact, the tumor itself weighed more than 10 pounds, the two tumors together. We can't remember exactly, I can't remember exactly how much, more than 10 pounds. He did it. The surgery was completely successful. The tumors are gone. They have not grown back. She wears her skinny jeans, and it is just, I share that because we not only have the wonderful meditation that we do, we not only have the great breath practice, but we also have the grace of a living guru. And I'll tell you, that counts for something.
Yep.
And I just want to add one other thing about Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar. Ronnie, you and I remember back in the early days, in the early 1990s, we'd go to a course and there'd be 40 people there or 50 people there. And I remember I was at a course in Tucson. There were like 30 people there with Gurudev. And now the programs with Gurudev attract, I mean, he fills stadiums. There's a program coming up in Seattle. I wanted my daughter to go. It's in this Seattle conference complex, the conference center, the biggest room. And most of the levels of tickets are already sold out. And maybe you want to tell people about our World Culture Festivals.
Ah, yes, yes. So in addition to that, Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar is very committed to obviously creating in his words, a violence-free, stress-free society. And for prompting people to recognize that our greatest identity, first and foremost, is a member of humanity, of the family of humankind. And after that, our our gender and our religion and our nationality and blah blah on and on and on. And so he has been the inspiration behind four world culture festivals that bring together people from literally from around the world to celebrate the diversity, to recognize and celebrate the diversity, recognizing that underlying all of it is the one common humanity. And there's also group meditations, which are in the Guinness Book of Records, because the first one had 2.5 million people, I believe. It was constructed on an airfield because nothing could hold that many people in Bangalore, India. The second one that had three, and Debra and I were at these, and the second one was 3.5 million people from 115 countries from around the world. And at the events, there were celebrations of all the virtual cultures, like whirling dervishes and flamingo dancers and ballet dancers from Russia and those,
Tango from Argentina,
yeah, and those long horns from, I don't know what they're called, from
Switzerland.
Switzerland. And
Yeah,
really
and of course from the
remarkable.
US, the what did you call it? The kids from the US, they did those
Oh, the hip hop?
the hip hop dancers. It was and what was amazing about this with millions of people, no violence, zero crime. How could that even be?
Right. And the last one was in Washington, D.C. in 2023. And according to the U.S. Department of Parks and Recreation, who are responsible for the huge Washington Monument, that's where Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech. And our culture festival was held there. And the police were telling us how amazed they were that there was no fighting, there was no violence. And for the 3 days of the World Culture Festival, there was actually no felonies in the immediate area surrounding it, although it really is an area where there are murders on a regular basis. And they were absolute, and plus we left it so clean.
Yes,
People
they said
had
there was no
awareness, and according to the Park Service, because they count the number of people, there were 1.1 million people at the World Culture Festival together.
and I just wanted, yeah, on the National Mall. So it was pretty incredible. And the one right before that you forgot to mention was in Germany.
Oh, right.
One in Germany was in the stadium where Hitler proclaimed World War II. So we went in there and did just the opposite. We shifted it from that energy of hate and war to an energy of understanding and harmony and love. And I love the movies. When I watch the movies at the World Culture Festival, where you have like you say, the people who are ballet dancers from Russia hugging the tango dancers from Argentina. And it just expands your heart. Oh, and those step dancers from Ireland,
Oh, yeah, that was great.
they were just adorable. But and I think there was research done on the World Culture Festivals. The
Yeah, we've done research on it. It is now at a publisher awaiting publication. And what we found was that people who attended, whether it was in person or online, there was a huge bump up in their positivity, in their happiness, in their mood, in their commitment to doing social service, in their ability to connect with other people. And what we found is that the results persisted 6 weeks later.
wow.
And it
There.
seemed to influence the community around them. People reported more social connection, more service in them and their communities. And part of that is something called social contagion theory, which the field of sociology recognizes that we actually influence everybody around us, even if we don't just talk to them, because humans are programmed to pick up subtle cues like facial expressions, body language, and even the chemicals, the pheromones that people put out there, and our behaviors, our actions. And so, without saying a word, without doing anything, the people who are at the World Culture Festival brought that back and influenced the people in their communities, which is
That's amazing.
absolutely, it's why we're here,
It's
human
why we're
race.
here. And that was for people who were at the World Culture Festival. I would love it if you could just take a minute or two to to also inform our guests that we're with tonight about the research on the sky breath work practice, because that's something that anybody could learn. They could go to a local center and they could learn the sky breath. And it is the foundational practice that we teach so many different practices, but it is a foundational practice of the many that we offer through the Art of Living organization. So could you share a little bit of research on that?
Oh, sure. It's my favorite topic to talk about. I won't talk too long because the research shows that basically practicing the sky breath program, if you want to put it in a nutshell, makes people happier, healthier, richer, and younger. And I say that happier, not only does it significantly reduce clinical depression and the everyday blues and anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder and stress, but it boosts the parts of life that make life most worth living. It increases, and these are standardized international measures that measure these things. So it increases happiness, it increases serenity, it increases the ability to connect with other people, it increases social bonding. It actually produces some of the research that I was involved with Stanford Medical School that was just published this past April, showed significant increases in oxytocin, which is one of the well-being hormones. And there's other research showing significant increases in different other chemicals that are abnormally, like there's a feel-good hormone prolactin, which is abnormally low in depressed people. And they find that from the very first session of sky breath in people who are depressed, that the amount of that well-being hormone increases significantly. So it's not just that people psychologically feel better, but it's that the mind and body go together.
Yeah.
And so something has to be happening in the body. And cortisol, the major stress hormone, reduces from the very first session. Well-being hormones boost up. I could spend hours and hours talking about it, but I think people get the drift. It makes you happier. People's immune systems are stronger. And there's something called telomeres, just really quickly, which are like the hard end of shoelaces at the end of our strands of chromosomes. And every time a cell replicates, they become infinitesimally small, shorter. That's what causes aging, or that's the sign of aging. And what's been found is that the length of telomeres actually can increase in certain conditions, including when people do the sky breath. And so it makes people, obviously the conclusion is that regular practice, and if you can slow the shortening of the telomeres, you extend the lifespan. So that's pretty
Wow.
good for spending a couple minutes a day breathing in the comfort of your own home.
And you know what? I just want to make sure that people heard that you were, because you said it several times. From the very first time people practice sky breath, the science has shown that there has been a scientifically measurable result. So it's
Right.
not something, some people say, oh, I've been meditating for 30 years. And I say, the first time you practice it, there you already,
Right.
at least your body is getting
Right,
results.
right. And it's not just the as I mentioned, the psychology, but the physiology changes. Brainwave patterns have been shown to change. An article just came out this month about brainwave patterns with sky breath. So the brain physiology changes, the body chemistry changes, the entire nervous system settles down to a higher level of functioning.
And I'll just talk about how in my own career, I speak on stages around the world. I have a company, as Ronnie said, called Yes to Success, but I actually speak on 4 different topics, on as well as Ronnie and I together speak on anti-aging. But I do a lot of media appearances and a lot of talks in front of large groups of people. And what's crazy is I don't get nervous. And I actually teach a course. It's a course called Effective Communications, but one of the sections is how to hit a home run speaking from the stage. I teach people how to get a standing ovation every time. And I could teach people how to structure a speech. I could teach people how to, start off their talk with a startling fact or a funny story. But what really is holding people back is everybody is afraid of public speaking. And if you know the science behind it, do you know that it's the number one
Mhm.
fear? People are more afraid of public speaking than they are of snakes and spiders and heights, even death. But what's so interesting is that, like Ronnie and me and our other friends, we love public speaking because our nervous systems, when you do these practices, they get rid of the stress, they get rid of the tension, and they create this state of calm that the research shows that it's a state of calm so that we go out on the stage and we're not like this. We go out with a state of calm that's already embedded in our nervous system. So that's one of the ways these practices have helped me in my industry.
Right. And I want to add that it really makes life more of a celebration because we actually, people comment all the time when we teach together and people about you that you can see that we're having fun doing it. So it's not just like, oh, I can get through this, but wow, this is great. It's so much fun because built in us, we all have the natural desire to share positivity. In fact, it's found in science that when we commit altruistic behavior, when we do something for somebody without expecting something in return, it stimulates the pleasure centers in our brain. So instead of being in fear mode, we're like tickling the pleasure centers of our brain doing the same thing. And it's all because we create that foundation.
And how about taking some time to reflect on the world today, how these techniques are really essential to not only keep up with the busy pace of life, but also conflict in the world. And I think you've done some research on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I will share with you that, what we need today more than ever because of the heightened insanity in the world, the heightened duress, the heightened stress in the world, is that we need to remain centered. Because if one person is sitting and crying, and you just come and you sit down and you cry next to them, it doesn't really help. We need to be able to stay centered to see solutions. And I can tell you personally, for me, given the current situations in the world and because of the work I've done in the Middle East, and right now I am actually preparing documents and I'm working with several groups in the Middle East for healing trauma, both in children and in adults. And when, if I get, and I have to regularly remind myself, and really thank God I am able to remind myself that I'm here to do what I can do and only what I can do, and that there really is a higher power overseeing everything. And so it allows me to relax and actually feel the practices that we do center me so that my vision remains broad enough so that I can remember I'm just like if the divine is, I like this analogy, like the divine is like the palm of your hand, and then there's the fingers. And if it's like this, the fingers don't even know that there's a hand, there's a hidden hand behind everything. But when I do these practices, it reminds me I'm just a finger on God's hand, and that God is really the hand and has the power. And because of that, it enables me to be more effective at my work because if I'm really upset, and it happens from time to time, I'm not perfect. And some days the news is so horrible that it takes me back and I have to, really, really, really rely on my breath work. And sometimes it takes me a little while, but most of the time I am able to come out of the, oh my goodness, what is happening in the world and what are these tragedies to, okay, that's the situation. What can I do? And I can relax in doing the best I can do because I know that there's an underlying hand. And
That's beautiful.
honestly, it's my sanity during these days. And so I am so grateful for that. Besides, it gives me energy. I can still do Zumba.
Yeah. So you are doing such great work in the world, and I know that you have a research study you're working on Parkinson's, and I think you were saying cost benefit. What was that one? Cost
Oh,
benefit?
cost benefit savings where because the sky breath is so effective at treating depression and anxiety, and those are the two we're starting on, and it boosts the immune system. And it's been found that even people with treatment, I was just talking to somebody today actually, people with treatment resistant depression means that they've tried drugs, they've tried psychotherapy, they've tried everything, and they're still suffering, that even in those people with treatment resistant depression and treatment resistant anxiety, within 4 to 6 weeks, they have significant improvements, and many do not even meet the criteria for clinical depression or anxiety anymore. And it's such a financial savings in terms of drugs and therapy that we're doing a 6 site study in Cleveland, actually, on patients at 6 different mental health clinics to
Wow.
show not only how effective it is and how much staff it saves and how much, but how much money it actually saves to insurance companies and the government,
Yeah.
so that it will be covered by insurance.
And I just want to say, you were saying that one of the reasons why you can keep on going is because you know the contribution that you're making to the world by offering these programs and by being part of the art of living. And I just want to say, in my life, uh, I own four seminar companies. As you know, I have two biological children. I have two adopted sons. I have 17 godchildren who all depend on me. I have 17. I am on the board of three different nonprofits, it's not just in name. I work really hard with these nonprofits. I could go on and on, all the things that I do. And one of the other things that I love about our programs is I might be the healthiest person that I know. I
Yep.
mean, after the migraines were gone, that was it. I have energy to spare, and people say, "How do you do it?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I eat well. I have great sleep. I exercise regularly, but all of those things, the one thing that I know has made the contribution to my health is the art of living breath work, we call it the Sky Breath course, and also the Art of Living Sahaj Samadhi meditation course. I mean, if God came down and said, you have to give up everything else that you do to make yourself healthy and only keep two things, I know what those two things would be. And when Ronnie and I tell people our age, they fall off their chairs. Ron, should we tell people how old we are?
Go ahead.
Well, okay. Um,
But first, you have to tell them we've had no plastic surgery. This is
yes.
actually us.
And this is really us. So Ronnie and I are both in our 70s, and that's the truth. You could look on our birth certificates. And but I think there's what the biological age and the physical
Oh,
age.
right, right. So that's the thing when so you only told them our chronologic age, which is how many years it's been since we popped out of our mommy's tummies. But there's actually the medical community talks sometimes about two ages. There's our chronologic age, which is, how many years you've been on Earth, how many candles are on your birthday cake. But then there's something called your biologic age, which is how much your body has aged in the years that you've been on Earth. And when we talk about it, I mean, we feel like we're in our 30s or 40s.
It's
And
true.
so I should have asked you to clarify, do you want to tell them our biologic age or do you want to tell them our chronologic age?
Well, I spilled the beans and told them our chronological age, but I've actually even had things tested, bone density, circulation, this and that, and every single time, or even when I go and get a facial, yes, I do get facials. I always have the facialist guess how old I am, and when I tell them that I'm about to turn 74, they literally like say they know you're not telling the truth. And yeah, I am telling the truth. So all gratitude to the art of living, all gratitude to these programs that slow, stop, and have even in some research shown to reverse aging. And we are so happy that we found this organization, which is a delightful organization, and being a representative on this blessed channel. It's been fun. Anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
No, but just, one of the blessings is actually finding this organization.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, and the other thing, oh, I'll just say one last thing is for me, what this has done, as I said, it's made things rather than being intellectual, things like gratitude, it's made it visceral that I actually feel it. And the difference, just to give you a perspective, is like black and white TV versus color TV, or the difference between having these incorporated these programs for me is the difference between seeing an incredible menu and actually eating the meal. It makes everything so much more alive.
And this
So
is the
again,
meal.
we're happy that you're here with us, that you've allowed us to share your most precious asset, which is your time. And we hope that we'll see you again in the very near future.
That would be wonderful. And Ronnie, I hope I get to see you soon
Well,
sometime.
we will for sure.
All right. And everyone else, we hope that you will, that we will cross paths. And this
Yes.
has been a lot of fun. So
And
thank you
here's to
so
your
much.
health, happiness, and serenity. Bye for now.